Gracias. Thank you so much. I'm overwhelmed because in acknowledging Mickey Ibarra and Bobby Garcia and all the sponsors and the presidents of all the organizations that are so important to our community, the members of Congress that are here, we could have a vote here. We need to pass that comprehensive immigration bill. And so many ambassadors. Ambassador Westendorf of Spain is here. Gave me a wonderful dinner last night. The ambassador said, you can have a guest list that is proper protocol of 20, or you can have a Hispanic guest list and have 80. And we had a great turnout. And I want to thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Congressman Baca, Chairman of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Bobby Garcia over here was the first chairman of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. And Bobby, I'm going to talk a little bit about acknowledging everyone, but what Mickey also said, he said, don't give like a stump speech. Don't talk about policy issues. We want to hear about your life and being a Latino and moving forward and what it means to you. In other words, he wants me to write a decent speech, which I will do shortly. He did tell me something. I feel good. Apparently, we sold more than Eva Longoria did 3 months ago. Of course, he didn't say it to you. He said it to me. Así es que no es cierto eso. But I wanted to, just reflect a little bit. And there are a lot of people here that I should thank, because I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't, for instance, for Bobby Garcia, who got me on the Commerce Committee, Energy and Commerce, that got me my career in the Congress, or Jack Otero from the labor movement, who backed me when no one else backed me, or so many of the, John and so many of the other leaders of the community, Janet, their organizations, NCLR, and MALDEF, and LULAC. I know Rosa's here. She's endorsed me. Thank you. You should all follow suit. So that is thank you. Gracias. Thank you very much. Now, talking a little bit about your background. Why am I standing here? Why maybe we've had success in New Mexico in diplomacy, in energy? I truly believe it's because of my bilingual upbringing. My mother, I'm going to tell you a story to start this out. 92 years old, 92 años, Maria Luisa Lopez Collada. In fact, they used to say, hey, Bill, you're Hispanic. Get rid of the Richardson. Say Bill Lopez Richardson. It didn't fit on a bumper sticker, so we didn't do it. But I talked to my mother just 3 days ago, 92 years old. Viejita, Moms, here's my only, emotional message to everybody. Spend more time with your mom and dad, especially in the later years, because, you're going to have those remembrances. So I said to my mother, Mother, how are you? And she said, she used to call me Vilito, not Bill, Billy, Vilito. ¿Cómo estás, mijo? Very good, Mother. Are you still governor of New Mexico? Yeah. Yes, Mother, I am. So we talk another 7-8 minutes. And then she says, Oye, hijo, ¿todavía eres gobernador de Nuevo Mexico? I said, yes, Mother, I am. I'm still governor. I haven't been impeached in the last 7 minutes. In fact, Mother, I want you to know, last January 20th, I announced for president. And she said, Presidente de qué? So, there goes, I was put in my place right away. But that was my mom, and I remember those many times at home in Mexico City, because I remember so vividly my mom only talking to me in Spanish. And we were at the dinner table, me and my sister, only in Spanish. And then my father, actually, when he did talk to me, was a very stern father in English. And that's how I went to school, both languages simultaneously, not classes divided, but half the class would be maybe in English and Spanish. You move between those two worlds. And I remember also dreaming in Spanish. Here I was 18 years old. I dream in Spanish. And then as I got older, the conflicts. Am I an American? And I want to thank my dad, because I wouldn't be a candidate for president if it weren't for my dad. We lived in Mexico City. My mother Mexican, my father an American, although born in Nicaragua, he was an American citizen. And so we lived in Mexico, the expectation I'd be born there. But my dad was so determined that I'd be an American that we drove in one of those old cars to Pasadena, California, just for me to be born. Because he was so proud that his son would be a full-fledged American. So I went up, I was born, left immediately. You know, this is Huntington Hospital in Pasadena. They try to get me to, you know, contribute money. They say, well, what are your roots in Pasadena? I said, about 3 hours. So that's it. I have done. But, you know, if they move up to California primary, I'm going to be, you know, pushing that. So there we were. And I remember growing up, you know, my love was baseball. I loved it. I wasn't as good as Carrion said, but I loved it. I loved it. I just, you know, girls, they all, studies really ranked last, but baseball, I just would love to play, and I'd go to the games, and whenever I was in the United States, the New York Yankees and Mickey Mantle and Tom Tresh and Elston Howard. I'm showing my age, but Carrion, you understand that great tradition of the Bronx Bombers. And then following baseball today, and Mickey's saying that maybe you're going to get the next speaker will be the general manager of the Mets, Omar Minaya, who has brought Latinos into baseball like nothing else. The best players are our people. In fact, all of the players are the best, and they're our people. And so what I wanted to just move forward, and I love this life, and it was a bicultural life, but, you know, I was conflicted in high school in the United States. They'd call me Pancho, you know, because I knew, was I American? You know, they'd look at me, Richardson, and, you know, the English wasn't perfect, and so I was the Pancho. And then I would go on vacation or go to Mexico City, and I was always playing baseball. And I remember hitting. I was a pretty good hitter. And I remember somebody yelling from the stands. We got into these championship games. Poncha al gringo, which means, you know, strike out the gringo. So I, you know, I wasn't either. And as I evolved, no, this is a true story. You know, I'm sure these reporters are going to have a field day with this. But that's what Mickey wanted. I mean, you want me to pour my heart out, and besides saying thank you, that's how I evolved. And then in politics, I always felt that being bicultural, I think this is true of all of us here, and this is my only, message. You know, there's a candidate for president on the other side that, you know, has lost all this weight, and he's preaching to everybody that you got to do the same. You know, that's his business. It's good to be healthy. I've, you know, lost a little weight, but not enough. But clearly, what I'm going to say to you is not preaching, because I think you do what you want. But being bicultural, learning two languages, living in two worlds, being Hispanic, I think is an advantage, because we're sensitive to other points of view, to other cultures, to other countries, to other ways of getting things done. You so respect each other. You know, in the Sudan, we got an American journalist out. We got this ceasefire. with Fidel Castro. We spoke Spanish. I remember we got 3 political prisoners out. And the conversation didn't start out too well. I started out in Spanish, and President Castro said, well, I understand that you went to, and this is after I had gone after him on the human rights issue, because, you know, it's an abominable situation. And so he said, I want you to go to a baseball game. So I went to a baseball game, and then we had a second meeting. And he said, well, what did you think about our baseball? And I said, pues, in Cuba batean muy bien, but your pitching is awful. You know, it's like 14-11. And he said, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. There you go. You're a gringo. You don't know anything. He said that. We have good pitching. I said, well, you know, you might keep the score down, 14-11. And so, you know, a little disagreement, but a connection started. And we started, and then I said, my God, I see Reverend Jesse Jackson. You gave him a bunch of prisoners. What about me, the Hispanic, you know? And so, you know, you sometimes, and we brought 3 back. And I was very, very proud of that. So, I get to the Congress, and I run for Congress in New Mexico. Obviously, I'm Hispanic, but I'm not a native-born New Mexican. And my name isn't Lopez, although it is. I'm Bill Richardson. And there's also Native Americans, maybe 12%, especially in the primary, 18% Native American. And so I'm navigating between a bunch of very, very attractive, important candidates, Congressman Tom Udall, Roberto Mondragon, you know, an icon of Hispanic politics in New Mexico, and Bill Richardson. And so, you know, I got to get votes anywhere I can. And so the Hispanic vote, a big bulk, goes to Mondragon. I get my chunk. The Anglo vote, we split with Udall. And then the Native Americans, God bless them, went with me. And so I won by 3%. So every time I go to the Native Americans, I say, you know, whatever you want, kick in it, you know, and because you remember where you came from. This is another thing, since we're getting, you know, personal. You got to remember who brought you to the dance. In other words, right now, you know, governor, running for president, whatever. You get a lot of people telling you how great you are. Nothing's wrong. You know, I'm skinny, all of that stuff. But I want you to remember those that were with you when you weren't doing so well. That's where your friends are. Those are your friends. And in other words, Carrion, when you're mayor, Yankee Stadium tickets for everybody here, eh? So you remember who brought, and that's why Jack Otero, and that's why Bobby Garcia, you know, who got me on the Commerce Committee. I didn't finish that story, but Congressman Baca, who's in a great committee, knows how important it is that your first committee be key. And Bobby, the Steering and Policy Committee, 16 members, you have to get a majority of the votes. And what Bobby told me is, you've got to tell this congressman from Texas, whose name is Charlie Wilson, that you're going to be sensitive to oil and gas. He said, you got to do it or he'll vote against you and you won't get enough votes. And I'm going to give him my vote for somebody that he wants. And Bobby maneuvered it. And I became an oil and gas advocate. What we didn't know is that, you know, New Mexico depends on oil and gas. So it was very easy for me. And Bobby engineered that for me. And I served in Congress, Chief Deputy Whip, because I was the first Hispanic whip. And now, today, the great thing about Menendez is he was elected. He's now chairman of the caucus. He beat everybody. And now he's a U.S. Senator. So many of us got in there by our numbers, but we got appointed. But it was the Menendezes that have attained the highest ranking in the Congress. And then Joe Vaca is now a whip, and, you know, he's a big, big, big star in the House. But it was the Bobbies and the inside early guys, Congressman Eddie Roybal, God bless him, he passed away. And it was that 1982 year when 10 of us came into Congress, like a rush. The Texas guys, New Mexico, Arizona, 10 of us came in. Most of them are still in the House, you know, Ortiz. And we started growing, and now, Joe, we're what, 30, 35 in the House, and it's bipartisan. I want to just conclude with this. Running for president, let me tell you, it's fun. You know, my world's handshake here, I'm going to shatter it many, many times over. I got the whole country. You know, and I love this country. I just think that the experience of running and making lives better and trying to bring people together. I try to say, they say, well, why are you running? You got all these other stars. Mickey kind of introduced me today. He called me the long shot. By the way, you know, I announced 4 weeks ago, I've been in this 4 weeks. I started out at 1%. Today, look at the polls. I'm at 8%. I'm moving up. I'm moving up. And I got to move up a little more. But, you know, there's a second tier. I'm kind of alone in the second tier, formidable opponents. But I am raising funds. It's going well. Many of you helped me this morning. Thank you. You know, there are two races for the presidency, for votes and for those that fund your campaign, because the country is so huge, the media markets are so expensive, and you have to strike early. You can't, like, say, I'm not going to do well in Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada, and I'll come back in California in June. I mean, it all happens right away. By the way, Joe, if you can get that California primary with all those Latinos moved up, I'm for it. So work on that. In fact, the governor told me, the Governor Schwarzenegger, that you know, it looks pretty decent. But make sure it happens, Joe. So, running for president, I'm asked, and I was asked at the press conference, well, are you a Hispanic candidate? Well, how do you use your Hispanicness? And I said, well, you know, here's how I use it. And you know, those of you, our people, nuestra gente, you know how they put us in boxes all the time? You know, the Hispanic, okay, they only care about immigration or civil rights. They don't care about other issues. The reality is our community isn't just centered on those, quote, Hispanic issues. We care about jobs and education and the war in Iraq. We're mainstream. We're the biggest market in this country. We're part of the mainstream. And, you know, you get both political parties. How do you get the Hispanic vote? Oh, well, you know, you trot out the mariachis and you start singing. That doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen anymore. They still do it, by the way. They're still done. You come out and you see how the outreach is and some of the radio ads. You know, now with blogging and internet, it's so different, and technology and kids using this blogger technology and the internet. It's changed politics. But, you know, I just hope that Charlie Erickson still keeps his Hispanic link. And I just saw Charlie over there. He's been at this, and that's important, that we not forget, you know, today in this age of electronics and Telemundo and Univision and all this new technology, which we love, that we not forget those that brought us here. So, I'm an American governor, proud to be Hispanic. Am I only running on Hispanic issues? No. Am I trying to get the Hispanic vote? Yeah. Am I going to be the first American president to do more for Hispanics than any other president? Yeah, I am. Am I... You know, and it's not just our issues. It's not just dropout rate issues. It's not just having a sensible, comprehensive immigration plan. It's not just, and I said to President Bush, you know, the nation's governors met with him. And after I got him a little mad on, you know, the North Korea, and I said, you know, Mr. President, I congratulate you. With North Korea, you talked to him directly. And guess what? By engaging in direct diplomacy, they actually did something. And I congratulate you on this agreement. Why don't you do it with Iran and Syria? And you know, he acknowledged that, and then he said, I'm for comprehensive immigration. I'm going to push this year. I'm optimistic. I said, that's good. And I'll help him, because we need to have this happen. And so, whether we're dealing with these issues that are pictured as issues that relate to us, or they're pictured as issues that relate to the American mainstream, I'm going to be in them. I want your help. You know, this is an office that is pretty important. And I wouldn't have jumped in if I didn't think I was ready. I'm ready. In fact, I think I'm the best qualified for this job. Now, and I did it. Y lo hice porque ustedes me enseñaron y me apoyaron. You were always there. I'll never forget those of you in this room that countless times have helped all of us, and we've helped each other. It's a long journey. 10 months away. You know, a lot can happen in 10 months. You ask those candidates that were at 3% when I was now at 8%, and they were possibly nominees. And you ask those that were at 45% 10 years ago, or 4 years ago, and aren't doing, you never know what will happen in this business. But I think the American people, if they see the track record, if they see your passion, they see that we're going to go in a grassroots campaign, we're going to be respectable in the fundraising arena, they will give us a chance. And I think the most exciting thing about this election is the barriers, I believe, in America are broken. Whether we elect an African American, a woman, a Latino, those days are gone. The American people want leadership. They want commitment. They want somebody that's going to deal with problems. So, one of the things that happens when you run, you lose control of your life. Look at all this. I mean, I got no say in anything I do. I can't eat. I can't have a cigar. You know, I got to wear these fancy, it's not that fancy, these suits. I got to comb my hair. You know, I got to do things that I wasn't able to do before. But I want to just say to all of you, I thank you. I need your help. We can win this thing. And if that happens, we make history. Gracias. Thank you.